The fog clung to London's streets like a jealous lover, thick and unyielding, wrapping the city in a shroud that blurred the line between reality and secrets. Mia stepped out of the cramped underground station at Euston Square, her heart pounding not from the rush of commuters, but from the weight of the letter crumpled in her coat pocket. It was from her parents, another rejection, sharp as a knife. "We can't support your delusions anymore," it read. Dyslexia isn't an excuse for failure. At 21, she was on her own, chasing a literature degree at University College London, where words twisted like enemies on the page, mocking her every effort. She pulled her hood tighter against the drizzle, her boots splashing through puddles that reflected the neon glow of nearby pubs. The gritty charm of Bloomsbury was alive tonight. Students spilling out of cafes, laughter cutting through the mist like distant thunder. But Mia felt invisible, a ghost in her own life. Abandoned by her affluent family in Kensington, she'd scraped by on scholarships and part-time jobs, her dyslexia turning every lecture into a battlefield. Reading was torture. Words danced and swapped places, but she fought back with audiobooks and sheer grit. Tonight, though, the pain was fresh. Why did they hate her so much? Was it really the dyslexia, or something deeper, like the shame of a daughter who didn't fit their polished world? As she hurried toward the UCL quad, a murmur of voices drew her eyes to the shadows. There, under a flickering street lamp, a crowd gathered around a makeshift canvas stretched across the pavement. Street art in the making. Colors exploded in the dim light, vibrant reds and blues swirling into faces that screamed silent stories. At the center was him, tall, with messy dark hair falling over eyes that burned like embers. He wielded a spray can like a weapon. His leather jacket was worn, patched with graffiti tags, and his hands moved with a rhythm that hypnotized the onlookers. He was painting a mural of shattered homes, figures reaching out from the ruins, their expressions raw with longing. Mia's steps slowed. She shouldn't stop. She had a late-night study session waiting in the library, wrestling with Shakespeare that refused to stay still in her mind. But something pulled her closer. The artist paused, wiping sweat from his brow, and his gaze lifted, straight into hers. Time froze. His eyes, deep brown with flecks of gold, held a storm she recognized, abandonment, the kind that scars the soul. A shiver ran down her spine, not from the cold, but from the electric pull. Who was he? Why did he look at her like he could see through the fog, right into her hidden hurts? He smirked, a half-smile that promised trouble, and nodded toward the crowd. "What do you see?" he called out, his voice rough, laced with an East London accent that cut through the chatter. The question wasn't for everyone, it was for her. Mia's cheeks flushed. She glanced around, but no one else seemed to notice. Her mouth went dry. Words, her eternal foe, stuck in her throat. "Broken dreams," she finally whispered, stepping forward despite herself. The crowd parted slightly, and she felt exposed, vulnerable. Up close, he smelled of paint and rain, an intoxicating mix that made her head spin. His name tag on a lanyard read Jax. Probably a UCL affiliate, maybe an art student moonlighting on the streets. Jax tilted his head, studying her like she was his next canvas. "And you? You look like you've got a few of those yourself." His words were casual, but his eyes lingered too long, tracing the curve of her lips, the way her wet hair clung to her neck. Heat bloomed in her chest, uninvited and fierce. This was dangerous. She didn't do flings. Her life was a careful balance of survival, not distractions. Yet here she was, drawn in by a stranger who mirrored her pain. The crowd murmured approval as he added a final stroke, a hand reaching out from the debris, fingers almost touching freedom. Applause rippled, but Jax ignored it, wiping his hands on his jeans and stepping closer to Mia. "Fancy a chat? Over a pint? Name's Jax. I paint what I know, abandoned kids like us, fighting the world." How did he know? Mia's pulse raced. Had he seen it in her eyes, the same way she saw it in his? Her family had cut her off 2 years ago, after endless tutors failed to fix her dyslexia. She'd been shuttled to boarding schools, then left to fend alone when she chose UCL over their approved paths. Abandoned, yes. But successful? Not yet. "How do you recognize my own kind?" he interrupted, his voice dropping low, intimate. The mist swirled around them, cocooning the moment. His hand brushed hers as he packed his cans, a spark that jolted through her body. Forbidden. He was a street artist, probably with his own baggage, and she was barely holding her life together. But the pull was magnetic, stirring desires she'd buried under books and barriers. They walked to a nearby pub, the Lamb, its windows fogged with warmth. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and laughter, but Mia felt the world narrow to just them. Jax ordered Alesh, his fingers lingering on the glass as he handed hers over. "Tell me your story," he said, leaning in. His knee brushed hers under the table, sending a thrill up her thigh. Hesitant at first, Mia opened up. The words tumbled out: dyslexia making school hell, parents who saw her as a flaw in their perfect lineage. They said I'd never amount to anything. Cut me off like I was nothing. Tears pricked her eyes, but she blinked them away. Jax listened, his face softening, then darkening with shared rage. Me? Orphaned at 12. Foster homes, streets, you name it. Art saved me. Got a spot at UCL on talent alone. He rolled up his sleeve, revealing tattoos of fractured hearts and rising flames. We survive, yeah? Turn the pain into something beautiful. As the night deepened, their conversation wove deeper. Laughter mixed with confessions, touches growing bolder, a hand on her arm, her fingers tracing his ink. The ale warmed her veins, loosening inhibitions. When he leaned in, his breath hot against her ear, whispering, "You're not broken, Mia. You're fire." She didn't pull away. Their lips met in a kiss that exploded like the fog lifting. Hungry, desperate, tasting of rain and rebellion. But as they stumbled out into the night, tangled in each other's arms, a shadow flickered in Mia's mind. Jax's eyes held secrets, depths she hadn't probed. What was his real story? Why did he paint abandonment with such fury? And as they vanished into the mist toward his tiny flat above a graffiti-covered alley, a phone buzzed in his pocket, ignored but insistent. Who was calling? What past was chasing him? Mia's heart raced with equal parts desire and dread. This glance, this fire, it could consume her, or set her free. But in the whispers of the fog, she sensed a storm brewing, one that might shatter everything before it even began. The rain hammered down like accusations from the sky as Mia and Jax tumbled into his narrow flat above the alley. The door slammed shut behind them, sealing out the world, but not the doubts creeping into Mia's mind. His place was a chaos of creativity, canvases stacked against walls, paint splatters on the floor like blood from old wounds, and a single bed pushed into the corner, rumpled and inviting. The air smelled of turpentine and something sweeter, forbidden. Jax's lips found hers again before she could catch her breath, his hands urgent, pulling her closer as if afraid she'd vanish into the fog. Mia's body responded on instinct, a fire she'd never known igniting deep within. She wasn't a virgin, but this felt different, raw, unfiltered, like peeling back layers of skin to expose the soul. His fingers traced her spine under her damp shirt, sending shivers that had nothing to do with the cold. "You're trembling," he murmured against her neck, his voice a low growl that vibrated through her. Was it fear or desire? Both, tangled like the shadows dancing on the walls from the streetlight outside. They collapsed onto the bed, clothes shedding like old skins. Jax's body was a map of hardships, scars from street fights, tattoos telling stories of loss. One inked across his chest, a broken chain, symbolizing freedom from the foster system that had chewed him up. Mia's hands explored him, hesitant at first, then bold, as if touching him could heal her own fractures. Their lovemaking was intense, a storm of gasps and whispers, bodies moving in sync like they'd known each other forever. In the haze of ecstasy, she forgot her dyslexia, her rejection, everything but the way he made her feel alive, wanted. But as they lay entwined afterward, sweat cooling on their skin, the rain pattering against the window like impatient fingers, reality seeped back in. Jax's phone buzzed again from the pile of discarded clothes, a persistent vibration that shattered the afterglow. He tensed beside her, his arm around her waist tightening for a split second before he rolled away to grab it. The screen lit his face in a cold blue glow, and Mia caught a glimpse. Missed calls from an unknown number, a text flashing briefly. "We need to talk. Now." "Who is it?" she asked, her voice soft but edged with curiosity. She propped herself on an elbow, the sheet slipping down to expose her shoulder. Vulnerability hit her like a wave. Here she was, naked in a stranger's bed, after one electric glance and a pint-fueled confession. What was she doing? Her life was already a mess, endless self-study to conquer words that betrayed her, scraping by on ramen and resolve. A fling could derail it all. Jax silenced the phone and tossed it aside, forcing a grin that didn't reach his eyes. No one important. Old ghosts. He pulled her back into his arms, kissing her forehead, but the warmth felt strained. "Tell me more about you. That fire I see, where's it from?" Mia hesitated, the question stirring memories she'd rather bury. But in the dim light, with the rain as their only witness, she opened up further. My parents, they were everything money could buy. Kensington mansion, private schools. But when the dyslexia tests came back, it was like I was defective. Fix it or forget our support, they said. I chose to fight alone. Tears welled, hot and unwelcome. Abandoned at 18. No calls, no checks. Just silence. Jax's fingers stroked her hair, gentle now, the passion simmering into something deeper. I get it. My mom overdosed when I was 10. Dad bolted before that. Bounced through homes where care meant a bed and bruises. Art was my escape, tagging walls at night, turning anger into color. He paused, his breath hitching. Got caught once, juvie for a bit. But it fueled me. Landed a scholarship here at UCL. Now I paint what hurts, sell pieces on the side. Their stories intertwined like vines. Shared pain creating a bond that felt unbreakable. Mia felt a synergy, a subconscious pull. As if their wounds recognized each other, healing in the telling. They talked for hours, laughter breaking through tears, bodies pressing close again in a slower, more intimate dance. Jax's touch was addictive, each caress unlocking emotions she'd locked away. Ecstasy returned, tangled with trust, under the relentless rain that seemed to wash away their isolation. Yet, suspense lingered like the fog outside. As dawn approached, gray light filtering through the curtains, Jax's phone buzzed once more. This time, he answered, slipping out of bed and into the tiny bathroom, door cracked just enough for Mia to hear fragments. Not now. I told you, it's over. Don't threaten me. His voice was low, angry, laced with fear she hadn't heard before. Mia's heart pounded. Who was on the line? An ex? Something criminal from his street days? She sat up, clutching the sheet, conflict raging inside. This man had ignited her, shared her shadows, but secrets loomed. Should she confront him? Run. The emotional pull was evocative, stirring subconscious fears of betrayal, just like her family's rejection. Jax returned, face composed, but his eyes betrayed turmoil. Work stuff, he lied smoothly, sliding back beside her. Nothing to worry about. He kissed her deeply, distracting, but Mia's mind raced. The rain eased to a drizzle, mirroring her unease. As they drifted toward sleep, entwined in ecstasy's aftershocks, she wondered, was this love blooming or a trap waiting to spring? His past threatened already, a shadow tangling their newfound light. And in the quiet, her resolve hardened. She'd uncover the truth, no matter the cost. But what if it shattered them both? The lecture halls of University College London loomed like fortresses, their ancient walls indifferent to Mia's racing pulse as she slipped into a back row seat. Her notebook lay open, a battleground of scribbled notes and misread words, her dyslexia turning every sentence into a maze. It had been 3 weeks since that rain-soaked night in Jax's flat, and the memory of his touch still burned. His lips, his scars, the way his whispers felt like salvation. But so did the unease from that secretive phone call, a splinter in her mind that grew sharper with each unanswered question. Who was he hiding from? And why did it feel like their fragile bond was a fuse waiting to ignite? Outside, London's autumn chill had replaced the fog, leaves skittering across the quad like secrets escaping. Mia's days were a grueling blur. Lectures she fought to follow, late-night audiobooks to keep up, and shifts at a greasy diner to pay her rent. But nights belonged to Jax. They met in hidden corners, dingy pubs, alleyways alive with his spray cans, or his cluttered flat where passion drowned out doubt. Each encounter was addictive, their bodies and stories weaving tighter, a synergy that felt like destiny. Yet, the shadow of his past lingered, a silent threat in every heated glance. Today, Mia's literature professor droned about Virginia Woolf, but her mind was on the notebook she'd started filling. Not with lecture notes, but with fragments of her life. Sentences about abandonment, dyslexia's cruel tricks, and the ache of being unseen poured out, raw and unfiltered. Writing was torture, each word a fight against her brain's betrayal, but it felt like release, like Jax's murals turning pain into art. Last night, in a post-lovemaking haze, he'd read a page and whispered, "This is you, Mia. You're fire. Share it with the world." His belief sparked something reckless in her, a dream of a memoir, a voice for the rejected. As class ended, she lingered, heart pounding with a decision. She'd submit a piece to the UCL Literary Journal, a risky move for someone whose words often came out jumbled. But Jax's encouragement echoed, a subconscious pull urging her to rise above her family's dismissal. She headed to the library, her sanctuary and battlefield, to refine her draft. The words fought her, letters swapping places, but she pushed through, fueled by the memory of Jax's hands steadying her, his voice saying she wasn't broken. Hours later, Rain tapped the library windows as she emailed her submission, a piece titled Blur of the Unseen, her heart laid bare. Exhausted but exhilarated, she stepped into the dusk, only to find Jax waiting outside, leaning against a lamppost, paint smudges on his cheek. His grin was electric, but his eyes darted, scanning the street. "Fancy a walk?" he asked, voice casual but strained. They wandered toward Camden, the air thick with the scent of street food and rebellion. Jax led her to a half-finished mural, a girl with eyes like hers, emerging from shattered glass, words spilling from her hands. "It's you," he said, sprayed and poised, fighting the blur. Mia's chest tightened, emotions swirling, love, pride, fear. He saw her, truly saw her, but the buzzing of his phone in his pocket broke the spell. He ignored it, but she caught the name on the screen. Cass. A woman. A threat? Her stomach twisted. "Who's Cass?" she asked, voice sharper than intended. The question hung like a guillotine. Jax froze, paint dripping from the can, his face a mask of conflict. "Just someone from before," he muttered, avoiding her gaze. "Old life, nothing to do with us." But his shoulders tensed, betraying the lie. Mia's mind raced. Ex-lover? Debt collector? Something worse from his street days? The synergy of their shared pain felt fragile now, tainted by secrets. "Tell me," she pressed, stepping closer, rain wetting her hair. "You said we're the same, abandoned, fighting. Don't shut me out." Her voice cracked, evocative, pulling at the raw edges of her rejection. Jax's jaw clenched, his eyes storm-dark. "It's not that simple, Mia. Some things they're better buried." He reached for her, but she stepped back, the distance a chasm. Anger flared, hot and sudden. "Like my family buried me? I trusted you, Jax." Her words cut, and he flinched, the mural's vibrant colors mocking their unraveling. The rain fell harder, blurring the world, but not her resolve. She turned to walk away, heart pounding with suspense. What was he hiding? Could she love someone who kept shadows locked away? "Wait," he called, voice breaking. He grabbed her wrist, gentle but desperate. "Cass's was my foster sister. She's in trouble, deep trouble. I owe her, but it's dangerous, Mia. I didn't want you tangled in it." His confession hung heavy, a half-truth that begged more questions. What kind of trouble? Why the fear in his eyes? Before she could demand more, her phone buzzed, a notification from the literary journal. Her piece was accepted, slated for publication. A rush of triumph surged through her, clashing with the ache of Jax's secrecy. She was rising, her words breaking free, but at what cost? Their eyes locked, rain streaming down their faces, and Mia felt the brink of glory within reach. Her memoir taking shape, her name about to shine. But Jax's past loomed, a tangled shadow threatening to pull her down. Would she chase her dreams alone, or risk everything for a love built on half-truths? The rain had stopped, but London's streets glistened with a deceptive calm as Mia stood frozen, Jax's wrist still in her grip. His confession about Cass, his foster sister, tangled in deep trouble, hung between them like a fraying thread. Her phone's notification about the literary journal's acceptance glowed in her pocket, a beacon of triumph, but it felt hollow against the storm in her heart. Jax's eyes, usually so fierce, were clouded with fear, and Mia sensed the truth he wasn't telling could unravel everything. The mural behind him, her face in paint, seemed to mock her. Had she been a fool to trust this fire? "Tell me everything," Mia demanded, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. The Camden air was sharp with autumn's bite, and the crowd around them had thinned, leaving only the hum of distant traffic. Jax hesitated, his jaw tight, then pulled her into a shadowed alley beside the mural. The intimacy of their nights together felt distant now, replaced by a suspense that clawed at her subconscious. Was their love a lie, built on secrets like her family's rejection? "Cass and I, we ran together as kids," Jax began, his voice low, eyes scanning the street. "Foster homes were hell, so we survived on the streets, petty theft, tagging, whatever kept us alive. She got me through juvie, but she fell in with a bad crew. Drugs, debts, worse. I got out, got clean, got into UCL. She didn't." He swallowed hard, his hand brushing Mia's, seeking anchor. "She's back now, owes money to people who don't forgive. They're leaning on me to pay up, or else." Mia's heart pounded. Or else what? Her mind raced. Gangs? Violence? The danger felt too close, like the walls of the alley closing in. Jax's silence was answer enough, his eyes haunted. I didn't want you near this, Mia. You're my light. I can't lose you to my past. Her breath caught, torn between fear and the pull of his vulnerability. Their shared pain, abandonment, rejection had forged a bond, but this was a betrayal of trust. She'd bared her soul, her dyslexia, her family's cruelty, while he hid a ticking bomb. Yet, the thought of losing him ached worse than her parents' dismissal. You should have told me, she whispered, tears mixing with the damp on her cheeks. We could have faced it together. Before Jax could respond, headlights sliced through the alley. A black van screeched to a stop, and two figures emerged, hard faces, leather jackets, menace in their strides. Mia's pulse spiked as Jax pushed her behind him, his body tense. Jax, you dodging us? One growled, a scar running down his cheek. Cass's debt's due. You got the cash, or we take it in blood. Mia's fear turned to fire. She stepped forward, voice shaking but firm. Leave him alone. The men laughed, but Jax's hand squeezed hers, a silent plea. Go, Mia, he hissed. This isn't your fight. But it was. She'd fought her dyslexia, her family's rejection, her own doubts. She wouldn't abandon him now. The confrontation exploded fast. Jax lunged, shoving the scar-faced man back, but the other grabbed him, a knife glinting. Mia acted on instinct, grabbing a loose brick from the alley floor and swinging it, catching the second thug's arm. He cursed, dropping the blade, and Jax wrestled free, landing a punch. Run, he shouted, but Mia stood her ground, adrenaline surging. Together, they fought, a chaotic dance of survival, until the men retreated to the van, spitting threats as they sped off. Panting, blood trickling from a cut on Jax's lip, they collapsed against the wall. Mia's hands shook, but her resolve didn't. No more secrets, she said, voice fierce. We face this together or we're done. Jax nodded, pulling her close, their foreheads touching. Together, he promised, and in that moment their bond felt unbreakable, forged anew in the heat of danger. Weeks later, Mia's life transformed. Her piece in the UCL Journal went viral, sparking a bidding war for her memoir. Blur of the Unseen became a bestseller, its raw honesty about dyslexia and abandonment resonating worldwide. Royalties poured in, granting her financial freedom, a house of her own, and a platform to advocate for others like her. She stood on stages, words flowing despite her struggles, her voice a beacon for the rejected. Jax too rose. With Mia's support, he confronted Cass's debt, working with authorities to expose the crew's operations. His art gained fame, murals popping up across London, each telling stories of resilience. Cass entered rehab, a fragile step toward redemption, and Jax found peace and honesty, his love for Mia deepening with every shared truth. One evening, under a clear London sky, they stood before the finished mural in Camden. Mia's painted face now held a pen, words swirling into a blazing sun. Jax took her hand, his scars and tattoos a testament to their journey. You're my forever, he said, and she believed him. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. Their kiss was a vow, sealing a love that had survived betrayal, danger, and the echoes of their pasts. Mia had risen from rejection to glory, and with Jax beside her, the dream of forever wasn't a dream. It was theirs.
Hit that subscribe button for more stories like this. Did you enjoy the story? Tell us in the comments.